Some promises stay quiet for a lifetime, hidden under the places where rain once fell, where two young hearts stood believing life would bend itself around their love. And sometimes, when the years have taken almost everything else, life bends back, softly, unexpectedly, bringing you face to face with the moment you lost and the person you never stopped carrying inside you. I learned this truth on an evening when the sky smelled like the past, when the first drop of rain touched my cheek after decades, and I suddenly remembered a promise whispered beneath a broken street lamp by a boy I once loved more than anything in the world. My name is Eleanor, most people call me Ellie now, and I am 72 years old. For most of my life, I've held a memory that never truly faded, even after I married, raised my children, buried my husband, and watched the seasons turn like pages in a book too quickly read. I don't speak of this memory often. It belonged to a younger version of me, a girl with wet lashes and trembling hands standing on Maplewood Street in the summer of 1969, believing with her whole heart that love was simple and forever. He was there with me that night. His name was Thomas Hale. He was 19, 2 years older than me, quiet, gentle, thoughtful in the way boys rarely are at that age. And he looked at me as though I were the answer to every question he'd never had the courage to ask. I remember the rain most. Not the storm, not the thunder, just a soft, steady drizzle that smelled of warm earth and lilac trees. We had walked home from a small local dance where an old record player had scratched through our favorite songs. On the way back, the rain had begun, light enough to ignore but heavy enough to soak us slowly. I didn't care. Neither did he. That night, the world felt like it belonged to us alone, wrapped in fog and falling water. Thomas stopped under the flickering street lamp, his hair dripping, his shirt clinging to his shoulders. He took my face gently in his hands, the way he always did when he had something serious to say. "Ellie," he murmured, his thumb brushing my cheek. "After the rain stops, I want you to marry me." I remember the way my breath caught. I remember laughing softly, joyfully, as if the rain itself had been waiting to hear those words. "Yes," I whispered, "of course I will." After the rain, we held on to each other as though nothing in the world could tear us apart. I didn't know then how fragile a moment could be, how easily life could slip its hand between two people and pull them to opposite sides of the world. The rain did stop, but he never came back. The next morning, I waited on that same street, wearing the blue dress he loved. Hours passed. Then a day. Then 3. His letters stopped. His friends didn't know where he'd gone. His mother, who had never approved of me, said only that Thomas had left town suddenly due to a family crisis, and she offered nothing more. I went home each night with a heart that felt too big and too empty at the same time. I checked the mailbox every morning, prayed every evening, whispered his name into my pillow as though it might carry through the wind and reach him. Eventually, the waiting began to feel foolish. People whispered. My mother urged me to move on. And after months that felt like years, I convinced myself he'd changed his mind. Maybe he regretted asking. Maybe he found someone better, someone more suited for his mother's standards. I would never know. Life continued in the quiet, relentless way life always does. I married at 25, a kind man named Harold who treated me gently. He knew I'd loved someone before him, though he never asked for details. We raised 2 daughters, built a small life filled with simple joys and quiet routines. And though I cared for him, though we lived peacefully, there was a piece of me that always remained on that rainy street, still listening for footsteps that never returned. Years passed. The rain became just rain again. Maplewood Street was repaved. The old street lamp was replaced. The lilac tree was cut down. Everything changed except the memory. Sometimes, when it rained softly in the early evening, I felt a strange ache in my chest. Not regret, not longing exactly, but something old and delicate, like a pressed flower kept too long between the pages of a forgotten book. After Harold passed away, the house felt too quiet. My daughters moved away, busy with their lives. I spent my days knitting, reading, watching the seasons turn outside my window. I had grown used to the silence. Until the day the rain returned. Not just any rain, but that same gentle drizzle from long ago, warm and slow, almost familiar. I remember standing by the window, staring at the drops tracing paths down the glass. Something inside me stirred. Without thinking, I reached for my coat, locked the door behind me, and walked. My steps carried me without purpose until I realized where I was headed, Maplewood Street. The place where everything had begun and ended. The houses were different, newer, brighter. The air smelled faintly of wet asphalt and distant lilacs from someone's garden. The moment I stepped onto the street, I felt 20 again, trembling, expectant. And then I saw him. Standing under the modern street lamp, leaning on a worn wooden cane, was Thomas. His hair was white now, his shoulders stooped, but I knew him instantly. Knew the way he held himself, the gentleness in the way he looked at the rain. When he turned and saw me, he froze as though the years had folded in on themselves. "Ellie," he whispered, so softly I nearly didn't hear it over the rain. My breath broke. I felt time rush backward in a single heartbeat. "Thomas," I said, my voice cracking. "It's really you." He took a slow step toward me. Then another. When he reached me, we stood there like two ghosts rediscovering the world. His eyes glistened in a way I hadn't seen since the night he made that promise. "I came back," he said, breath trembling. "Every year on this street, on this day, at this time. I kept coming. I hoped. I prayed I might see you again. I didn't understand. Not at first. The rain blurred everything. Or maybe it was my tears." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, weathered envelope. Edges soft, ink faded. My name was written on it. My full name. Eleanor Grace Whitaker. "I wrote to you," he said, voice breaking. "Every week. 4 years. I begged you to write back, to tell me where you were. But none of my letters came. Not one. I thought you'd forgotten me. I thought you didn't want me anymore." I stared at him, stunned, aching. "I never received a single letter, Thomas. Not one. Why did you leave? Why did you disappear?" His face folded into pain. Raw, human, old. "My father had a stroke that night. I was pulled away before I could tell you anything. There was no time. We had to leave town by morning. I thought I would return in a week. But weeks turned to months. And when I finally came back, your family had moved away. I searched for you. But your mother," his jaw tightened. "She told me to stay away. Told me you were happy. Told me you wanted nothing to do with me anymore." My heart stopped. She said the same thing to me. About you. We stood there under the rain. Two old souls holding the weight of decades, shaped by one lie. One terrible lie told by people who believed they were protecting us. "I loved you, Ellie," he whispered. I never stopped. The rain softened, falling around us like quiet forgiveness. I reached out, touched his hand, wrinkled now, trembling, but still the same hand that once held my face beneath a broken street lamp. "I waited for you," I whispered. "For so long. Even when I pretended I wasn't." He took a shuddering breath. "I wanted to marry you, after the rain. Do you remember?" Tears warmed my cheeks despite the cold drizzle. I remember everything. We walked slowly down the street, two old lovers rediscovering a path they once believed lost forever. We talked for hours, telling the stories that never reached each other, filling the silence of 50 years with gentle truths and long-held pain. There was no anger, no accusation. Just the soft, aching understanding of two lives that had wandered far from where they were meant to be. When the rain finally stopped, the sky opened with a soft glow. He glanced at me, his smile tender, fragile. "The rain's ending, Ellie," he murmured, echoing the words from our youth. I felt my heart open like it had not opened in decades. "Yes," I whispered, "it is." We stood at the corner where our lives had split, feeling the quiet magic of a moment returned. I could feel the years between us softening, loosening their grip. "It's not too late," he said, barely audible. "No," I replied, my voice steady. "Not for us." We stayed there, two silhouettes against the shimmering pavement, until the first stars appeared. And in that quiet twilight, after half a century of unanswered questions, we finally finished the conversation we never had, the one that would have changed everything had we spoken it sooner. Life doesn't give back time. But sometimes, if it's kind, it gives you one last chance to stand in the rain with the person who kept your heart soft all those years. That night, I realized something I wish I had known long ago. The heart remembers what the world tries to forget. And love, real love, doesn't disappear. It simply waits, sometimes for a lifetime. So if you ever loved someone and time took them away, don't think it's over. Some connections survive distance, silence, misunderstandings, even decades of separate lives. And if the rain ever falls the way it once did, maybe, just maybe, it's life giving you one more chance to finish the conversation your heart never stopped wanting.